They put up a desalination plant, and now Kalpakam employees are all getting desalinated water. This Kaveri, it's such an easy thing. Just desalinate sea water, you can put, you'll get so much water that you can put in the reverse direction in Kaveri and give it to Karnataka, have some more water. You see, that is the strength we have. But there is a catch there. The tanker, those who own water tankers, they make it a business to create this kind of crisis, water shortage, then their business flourishes, they give a cut to the politicians. So because of this nexus between politicians in Tamil Nadu and the tanker owners, water tanker owners, none of this is being implemented. Everybody knows it can be done. I've shown you Jamnagar, I've told you about Kalpakam. We are doing it. Now solar energy driven desalination plant has been invented by the Israelis. Buy it from them and put it. We don't even need electricity. So that's the way to go about it.
Thank you. I mean that I have read the book.
But now there you go and see, their entire drinking water supply is from that. Yes, it was not cost effective because they didn't have reverse osmosis. Now they have reverse osmosis process. And once you bring in, instead of electricity, you bring in solar energy, then it will become even cheaper. And why? What is this cost? You can't die because you don't have water. How you can say cost effective? Nothing can be a higher cost than dying for lack of water. This is wrong economics. You must have been trained by Raghuram Rajan.
Now, before we go to some questions which have potential for humor, let's have one more serious question. And that question relates to what you said earlier on, is the potential if the productivity of the cows went up as we made it. My God, just imagine the amount of prosperity that come about.
Yes.
So what are we doing? How are we educating to make sure? Because I've seen it in Pakistan TV as well, in which even their people have talked about that Sharia doesn't talk about eating beef. They say protect cows, eat milk, have milk, not beef. And they agree that it was done only to humiliate the Hindus. So that question apart, what can we do now to make sure that this message reaches out?
See, there is this cow variety, this Indian cow, which the Americans call as the Brahmin herd. I don't know whether you know that they've elevated status of Brahmin. That cow's milk is perhaps the most healthy milk for a human being.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
And we have a huge problem because we have to turn around from what was there. It's in the Constitution. I don't have to ask any Muslims, will it hurt your feelings or anything? It's in the Constitution. Article 48 says that the state shall ban the slaughter of cows. Wow. Okay, that's there in the Constitution. So I don't have to give any explanation to anybody. The question is how to do it. I found that the main reason why people are slaughtering cows is because the previous government is giving subsidies for export of cow meat. Then I wrote a letter and Nirmala Sitharaman, the Commerce Minister, told me you've stopped it. Now the export of cow meat has gone down very sharply because no more economic to export it. So we have to take these kinds of measures, and ultimately we have to set up big gaushalas on behalf of the state. Of course, the moment we decide we are going to set it up, you will see in front page, NDTV, all that, again the obscurantists have taken over and it's gone in that direction. But we are doing a constitutional work, and that milk is supposed to be particularly nutritious, and our milk can be exported once we pasteurize it, bottle it, and we can send it abroad, we can sell it, and you can make money out of this.
Thank you. Now let me take a funny statement, and that is about Arvind Kejriwal. See, I didn't just had to use his name, and then all of you started laughing. I hope there are not many AAP supporters here. But that said, somebody's question is, Kejriwal is a real nonsense and a threat. And at the same time, why is BJP government not taking action against Robert Vadra and others?
From Kejriwal to Vadra?
Kejriwal to Vadra. So you have wider field to jump around.
Yes, as far as Kejriwal is concerned, I have renamed him as Shri 420 Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Like Tughlaq, he'll come up with why. He is self-destructing, so you don't have to worry about him. Okay. So, as far as Vadra is concerned, you see, there's always this great tension. Of course, I know as a practitioner, I made Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi stand in court as ordinary accused and take bail.
Right.
Okay, something which people never thought will happen. But it took me 2 years.
Yeah.
And in another year, I will send them to jail also. Yeah. Now, you're waiting for the jail? Okay. Because it's an open shut case, you see. It's a completely open shut case. Now, as far as Vadra is concerned, it's also an open shut case. What Vadra used to do, he will take land meant for building a hospital or a hostel or something, designated purpose of the land. Therefore, the land value is low. He will buy it. He will not buy it with his own money because he doesn't like to spend his own money. So DLF will give him the money to buy these things. I will build a hospital, I will build a library or whatever. And he gets the land cheap. And then once he's got the land, then he used his influence with Huda and got the classification changed to open land. Anything you can build. Okay, they're not necessary for you to build a hospital or I think no compulsion. That change of land use was illegally done by Huda. And then having got this land, the DLF says, okay, now I'll give you this much more money and you give the land to us. So DLF then builds housing colonies and so on these things. This is the way he was earning. So there's nothing to prove. Now why didn't they act it on? Because nobody wants a fiasco. We remember there was such a hurry to send Indira Gandhi to jail in the Janta period that we've even forgot to fill the case diary. And the court threw out the, and the whole climate changed. You see, people say, oh, they've got nothing, they've just been talking rubbish. So we don't want to miss out. I don't think you have to worry. There's no escape. And it's only a question of time.
Thank you, sir. The next question is a serious one again. It is about China and the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan has ceded that territory. They are investing big time. How does it impact India, given the fact that India has made its own move towards Balochistan and Iran, kind of?
Well, see, dealing with China, you have to make one decision. And that is, of course, you should never be like Jawaharlal Nehru living in the air. You have to have your ground preparation. And there are many places where China is very vulnerable. Take, for instance, Malacca Strait. The Andaman Nicobar Island, the lowest point is now called the Indira Point. It used to be called something else before, but now it's called Indira Point. And from Indira Point to Indonesia, which is Sumatra, is only 90 kilometers in width. 90% of Chinese foreign trade passes through this narrow thing. If we have an alliance with Indonesia and say we will police this Malacca Strait, Chinese will be in deep trouble. Right? And they don't have that kind of navy to defend it. So that kind of capacity we have to develop, number one. Two, the Chinese cannot repeat 1962 because 1962 was a really emotional failure of Jawaharlal Nehru. He just collapsed. They have such a long supply line. The whole of Tibet is hostile to the Chinese central government. So, if you go and bomb the supply line of the Chinese, they won't be able to pursue the war in that place. So China's last hope is to preview trouble through Pakistan. Now we have to tell the Chinese, don't do it. But then they will say, don't help Japan. Japan and China are deadly against themselves.
Yes.
And we have taken a stand which is very favorable to Japan. So they said, why did you enter into this dispute with us? So it's an intricate thing. But China is not very happy with Pakistan because I've known them well. I've dealt with the Chinese and as Minister of Commerce and all that. And they tell me very clearly that we know that Pakistan is training terrorists to come into Xinjiang, their province. So somewhere I think we have to make a decision that Chinese relations, good relations with China is more important than our relations with any other country. And therefore we don't get into jagras which the Chinese are having, say, with Vietnam or with Japan. Then China can be managed. Without China, Pakistan is zero. It can be any time broken into 4 pieces.
I'm not going to ask any follow-up question for understanding purposes because Pakistan is a country, we granted them most favored nation treatment many years ago. And they are making it as an issue on Kashmir and negotiating, they haven't given us. I do know that Indian traders and businessmen perhaps will lose a bit more if India were to withdraw that. But I'm personally a believer in the concept that I think we can withstand that loss.
Of course.
So
Obviously.
why don't we revoke that MFN and bring Pakistan a proactive action that like Mr. Modi did with Balochistan?
We haven't done any action so far.
Yeah.
He has only scared them
Just
by
bola.
saying,
Just bola
"Bolne
unki
se ho
neend
gaya."
haram ho gayi.
Garzne se ho gaya. Now, thing is that why don't we? You see, at this stage, we were in the this is not my view because my view is a hardline view, but I can give a sympathetic interpretation of the government stand. They wanted to experiment whether it's possible to have, by peaceful methods, deal with Pakistan. At some stage, the Prime Minister will take a call that this is not happening, he is just taking advantage of it. In that time, these are the options that we consider.
Okay. Final question. Now dinner is getting ready. This is the final question. No Q&A in America can be complete without a reference to Trump and Hillary. No Q&A can be complete in America without a reference to Hillary and Trump. Who do you think will be beneficial for India and why?
You people live in America. I have lived in America for many, many years before I went back. I know as much about Americans as you do. Let me say that the Americans are the most unemotional people I have ever met. Everything is cost-benefit analysis. Even if they want to keep a marriage or end it in divorce, it's all cost-benefit analysis is done. Whether being married is good or getting divorced is more profitable. So they are very practical people. And therefore, it doesn't matter who is going to be the president, as far as India is concerned. Because the American president is always faced with options, which the think tanks give them, and they have to choose one of them. That's a limited option. They don't have, they can give speeches and all that. However, since we are all Indians here, I don't want to interfere in their internal affairs, but in my opinion, Hillary is emotionally more committed to Pakistan and China than she is to India.
This is a question which often comes about on television debates. And, one of the things, most of the Indians end up being more Democrat supporters than Republican supporters. And I always wondered why. And it is a really perplexing thing. Deep down, most Indians are conservatives.
Yeah.
So the support to Democratic Party is only based on the ideal of democratic socialism that existed in India.
Yeah.
And that's what I told people, that Bernie Sanders is bringing Congress party back here. So this is the country which taught us there is no free lunch. So how can there be a free medical insurance, and how can there be a free education? Be aware when somebody offers you something free, because somebody got to pay for it. Either you or I or the person. Now, I'm so delighted and so honored to have had this Q&A session with you.
Mr. Jha, just what about West Bengal? 2 years back, it was a favorable condition for BJP. What was happened? The radical change, I don't know.
Where?
Dilip already said. I need to know from him. What about West Bengal?
Me, I have to listen to his opinion. He is the president of the party there.
What you say, it is like Kerala or something else?
No, Kerala, because the president was not here, so I was free to talk. But once the president is here, he must talk.
You already said. What is the central leadership?
He will know, because he is the one who briefs the central leadership.
Okay, last question comes from Sushma ji. 1 minute, please, please. And please be seated where you are. It is a very important announcement coming right after this. Sushma ji.
How soon BJP will be able to solve the problem of Kashmir with Pakistan?
There is no question of solving the problem of Pakistan with Kashmir. Problem of Kashmir with Pakistan. Because Pakistan is never going to be reasonable. We'll have to do something which Pakistan can't do anything about. Our problem is, first of all, let me tell you, all these troubles that you are seeing is limited to 15% of the population. Large sections of Kashmir, which is Jammu, Ladakh, there is no unrest. Everything is going on normally. In the valley, it is the militants who are financed by Pakistan, and the fact that over so many years of Congress rule or NC rule, the police is demoralized, the Jammu Kashmir police can't do anything. And if you bring police from outside, like we have brought CRP in, they don't know the local conditions, so they take extraordinary retaliatory action and so on. But these children who are being killed are given narcotics by the militants and then sent to throw stones and in the process suffer injuries. So there is no way you can reason with them, because their financiers have said very clearly, now you take this to a finality so that somehow we can go back to the UN. We have to, the hard options are, somewhere the government of India will have to take a call whether this coalition is worth continuing. In my opinion, it's not worth continuing, but then I am not the one who's to make the decision. The decision makers in our party should decide whether this should continue. My solution is, you have president's rule, you are directly ruling, and thereafter the whole state should be brought under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And all this you start doing after making a contingency plan for liberating the so-called Azad Kashmir. that's the way to proceed about it, and you'll get an opportunity, and you should. I'm sure you'll get an opportunity because the Pakistanis are being pushed by the militants to go to war with India. So I'm sure that one of these days we are going to have a formal war with Pakistan like we had 4 times before. At that time we should
Please.
complete.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. It was real honor. Please give him a standing ovation.